Hail, hail! Good evening, folks, and welcome along to the Endless Celts Podcast. I'm Anthony, in the host chair tonight, delighted to be joined by two of the show regular contributors. First up, the captain of the ship, the Callum McGregor of the Endless Celts, or the Rocky Balboa, if the Christmas party tales are then to go by, Mr. Stephen Tomlinson. How are we, mate?
Mate, I'm all good. Like as you said there, like knowing you go out to a Christmas party with your work ones, and you go into work on the Monday with the fear. That was me. I mean, absolutely incredible. I think the first thing my boss said to me when I walked in, "Here comes Rocky Balboa." So that really says it all. Do it was a bull and a China shop. But I do want to update the viewers here on the Super Six. At the moment, Kieran is still out in front on 201 points. Mark Robertson, 177. Anthony, you're creeping up in the third place. Kevin Hampsey is up 1 to 169. Alistair Jack has dropped to 5th. Stephen Coulthard, the last year's winner, is 6th. William Dobbin, one of our own, 7th. Joe Finley, 8th. And Jamie McElduff is rounding off the top 9. And I also want to introduce just a kind of bit of fun here. Now, it's the spirit of Christmas. Everyone has an advent calendar. I have a Lindt one, by the way. I love Lindt chocolate, so I've got one of them. And I'm opening up. Look, like these wee bad boys. They're absolutely powerful. But I want to introduce the Endless Celts advent calendar. And we're on the 4th of December. And I was looking at the history of Celtic's number 4s. And they've plucked one out of thin air. So it's just a wee bit of a teaser. Just guess who it is. And at the end of the podcast, we'll come to the people who guessed right and guessed correct. That includes you two. Anthony Ross, if you want to get involved with that. That's great. So the Endless Celts advent calendar, number 4. Who is he? Let's find out soon. But yeah, Anthony, I'm all good. Apart from a big dose of the fear, I'm ready.
Listen, mate, as I said, obviously you could have been doing with one of the green faces going into your work this morning, hiding for the boss. But listen, mate, we've all been there. We've all been there. And of course, our other contributor tonight is one of our own regulars, making the Monday night slot his own after your usual Friday night. But you're more than making a appearance here now on a Monday, mate. It's Sir Ross. How you doing, mate?
Aye, no bad, mate. I'm very good. Yourself? Well, certainly in the last few weeks, I've been on the Monday a bit more. It takes a bit of getting used to, but I'm here and I'm ready to talk Celtic.
You're here and you're always here, kid. It's all good. It's all good. So, boys, what we normally do when we're going back over a weekend game, we tend to do a brief overview and then just go into the kind of the key points. Ross, we'll come to yourself first on this one, but I think the way I'm going to try and do it tonight is because it was such a proverbial game of two halves, and because we're going to have to obviously discuss Brendan's blockbuster post-match conference and pre-match conference today as well. I thought let's just go straight in to the bones there, and there's no other way dressing it up. Obviously Celtic we came out 3-1 winners on the day, which on paper looks, that's all you could have asked for on the before the game kicked off. But the difference in performance between the first and second 45 minutes was rather stark. So I think let's start at the beginning. Brendan in his pre-match conference was saying he was hoping for a quick start, really get in St Johnstone's faces. We'll obviously discuss his post-match comments at the end, but needless to say, it wasn't an impressive first 45.
No, it certainly wasn't. I mean, it wasn't as if they didn't make chances in that first half. Turnbull had a shot. Didn't so much make that, but it was decent football leading up to him sort of finding the space at the edge of the box. They had the one where Turnbull had it in the net, but obviously Yang, for the 725th time that half, was offside. Looking along the line, but I mean, I have to obviously hold back a wee bit on him on that one, because he was like trying to get into the space, whereas the other ones were just unforgivable. But there was chances within the half, but it was like Brendan Rodgers said. I had said it to you in the group chat at the end of the game. He wanted us to start fast, and that was the problem. We made chances, as I said, but the intensity and the speed of thought and the crispness of the pass and the running, it wasn't there. There wasn't enough effort. It was very safe safe football, not try to play like the more difficult pass. It was just side to side, and it was all too easy for St Johnstone just to sort of contain us. And I mean, to be honest with you, I'm usually I try and like not fly off the handle. But yesterday, I mean, I'm not the manager, and I was really, really angry at half time. Like Sharon and the Wayne were looking, I was walking about the kitchen, stomping about the kitchen, making a cup of tea, and I was like, "This is not good enough." And it's totally like raging. And I put it in the chat. It wasn't
should be
good enough.
Lombari tea bags. Lombari tea.
But that took me a wee second to get what you were getting at there. I forgot I said I was making a cup of tea. But honestly, it was so far from good enough. And to be honest with you, they were similar for the most part in the Motherwell game. They were, although it was a higher level of opposition in Rome, it was very the same. It was safe football. There was nobody taking a chance. You never felt like Celtic were going to score in the Lazio game. I didn't feel like they were making Motherwell work as hard as they could have in that game. And I said for 2.5 games now, we have been like playing safe football and uninventive football. But obviously we'll get onto it. But the second half was, as you said, Anthony, it was in stark contrast to the first half, and we did go over the line. But we can't start games of football, especially when teams are. You know that you're going to go to St Johnstone. You know you're going to, most of the teams, you're going to go there and they're going to defend, and they're quite right to do so. But I have to say as well, St Johnstone did have a bit more of a go than other teams, and they weren't like rolling about and all the rest of it like Motherwell were. And obviously they're the home team as well, so there is a bit of an onus on them to not do that. But you have to start these games against teams. You can't play that measured managing a game football against these teams in the opening periods. You have to do. I'm not saying exactly the same as what Angie's team done, but you need to start these games fast, stretch the defence, and try and get an early goal. You can't start lacklustre, because then you just get into a rut, and that team just sit there and pick off cross balls, and they get into a rhythm as well of defending. And you can't allow teams just to settle into a game. You have to be on them for the word go. It was, the second half was good, but you have to do that second half in the first half.
Yeah, I totally agree, mate. And I think the 2 years were probably the first to kind of, you were the first, and then was wondering where everybody was, because nobody was posting in the group chat for about 40 minutes, and then we were kind of saying the same thing at the same time, just just how poor it was. It really wasn't good enough. Stephen, before I come to yourself, just for share your thoughts now. Apologies, folks, I didn't welcome everybody in the comment section at the start of the show. Thanks to everyone that's tuning in and commenting so far. Obviously, Stephen's bringing up all the comments, and yeah, thanks again for tuning in. We really appreciate it. So, Stephen, obviously, you were obviously still recovering with the fear at this point. Was your outlook pretty much the way sort of symbolically produced by Celtic in that first half? Was it a kind of a mirror image of how you were feeling?
Oh, mate, Ross, like you said, I've seen that text Ross put in going, "Where is everybody?" But I tell him not to kind of text in the group chat during the match, because my emotions are sky high. Do you know what I mean? And I end up saying something, probably making an idiot of myself, like I did my work night out. But sure, but it's one of these things. Like, I was human, and I actually turned around to my granddad, and I'll probably get pelters for saying this, but I'll be open and honest about it. I turned around and said I couldn't give a shit if Rodgers left Celtic after this match. It pissed me off.
No.
Listen.
The reason you don't put that in the chat is the reason you don't say it in the podcast after it as well, because people think you're
the first half performance was absolutely diabolical, and I will give Brendan Rodgers credit. He said it in his interview. There's too many players who want to be comfortable and just do enough, and that kind of shit doesn't wash at Celtic Football Club. And you can probably guess what players he's talking about going by the first half performance. It was like Ross said, it was uninventive. There was no pressing, there was no desire, there was no enthusiasm to get up the pitch and try and score. There was just nothing at all in that first half performance. And yeah, we had chances, but St Johnstone caused us problems as well, especially from set pieces. Their goal, for example, and Anthony, I won't steal the thunder, but it was a horrendous goal to concede. But overall, the first half was probably the worst I've witnessed in years at Celtic Football Club, even probably going as far back to when Lenny came in after that. What the whole kind of treble debacle and get the job in the showers, but it was that was diabolical. There's no other way to describe it, in my opinion. And I think the way we're talking, the second half was a stark contrast. I do agree, but this has been, as Ross rightly said, it's been 2.5 games of absolute dross and absolute pedestrian football, and we all always hark back to when Postecoglou was in charge in terms of the fast, relentless, non-stop, 100%. But so far, lads, I have to say, under Rodgers, it's been a bit up and down, and it's just been, the last couple of weeks have been just lackluster and just, in my opinion, not good enough. And I know the second half was great, but the first half was, Anthony, it was abysmal, mate. And I don't know the way to describe it, to be honest.
There's no, as I say, I think the emotions that we felt were all the same. It's certainly at half time. Just before I go on to the half time switch, I certainly never seen anything wrong with St Johnstone's goal. I know they're talking about potentially a handball, but I'm talking in real time. There was the half-hearted effort for a foul on Joe Hart. I certainly didn't see it. What about you guys? Just much the same?
No. If
it was a perfectly good goal.
The effort was fucking Joe Hart trying to come off his line.
Yes, Ross. Oh, mate, Joe Hart is doing my head.
No, but see, my issue with it is, right, and one of a guy that me and Anthony know pretty well, Neil Goldie, he actually said that when we were watching the Lazio game, but the same thing happened as what happened in the Motherwell game. Now, if a St Johnstone player's standing and trying to pin Joe Hart, right, why in the name of God are we deciding to then put Greg Taylor in between Joe Hart and the defender? Greg Taylor is not going to protect Joe Hart. If anything, it gives the defender free rein to back in. If it was just Joe Hart there, Joe Hart could fall, and 9 times out of 10 he gets a foul. But putting Greg Taylor in there just negates that, and it doesn't allow it to happen. He's then got to try and come through Greg Taylor and the striker, and he does nothing. And he tries to win the free kick and falls back. When in actual fact, it's his own player that's like batting into him because he's been backed into.
I got a belter.
But listen, I've been a defender of Joe Hart, but I concede that he isn't good. I've never argued that he is not good coming for cross balls. He doesn't command his box enough, and it's actually the last 2 league games. It's been very apparent. But obviously, again, he comes up. I don't want to sort of steal your thunder, but he comes up with the goods later on in the game to get us over the line. But like when St Johnstone won that corner kick, I was sitting watching myself, so I turned round to myself and I said, "They've got to score for this," and that is genuinely what I said. You could just feel it building. They were building up a wee bit of momentum at that point, and I thought, if they put a ball on that 6-yard line, Joe Hart's not dealing with it. Matt O'Reilly was powder puff. He was out muscled. And then it was a stramash. It probably does hit the St Johnstone player's hand, but I don't think you can be looking for a free kick for that because it's in such close proximity and there's so many bodies about. What, you been eating Smarties tonight before you came home or what, Stephen?
No, I'm laughing at what Monty said.
I never seen it.
Monty will be at the board meeting.
But aye, there wasn't anything good to say about the goal. It was a really poor goal to lose, similar to the one that we lost at home to Motherwell. We need to sort that out and sort it out quick. It's not a difficult fix. You just don't put Greg Taylor in between Joe Hart and the striker. Just you tell Joe Hart, like, look at the size of you, look at the muscles on you. command your box, empty him, go right through him, win the free kick, tower above him and take the ball out of there. Just command your box. And Greg Taylor, and if you're going to put a man in between them, don't put Greg Taylor there. Put a bigger guy in. But why sacrifice a bigger guy who's marking another guy to put him in front of the goalkeeper and then block his vision even more? It's no difficult. It's just don't put Greg Taylor there and just Joe Hart man up a bit.
Well, that's it. I didn't think tonight, guys. I mean, I know obviously we'd a lot to get through, but I didn't think 15 minutes in, Stephen would be admitting that wanted Rodgers out at one point, and Ross was
no.
So it's,
I'll play.
This is going to be quite the night.
I'll play. I said I didn't say I wanted him out. I said I couldn't give a shit if he walked out at that point. You know, it was a diabolical performance.
I know, son. I know, but these. What am I like? I like to wind you up sometimes.
Prick.
Right too. And well, like we say, the first half, it was, you guys have summed it up perfectly. I would say there's no really any other way you can describe it. But obviously, I think the sentiments were shared very much by the gaffer, Ross, because he's came out and said it at the end of just how angry he was. He's possibly the angriest he's ever been in management. As I say, we'll probably go more in depth with Brendan's comments later on, but he did make a change at half time. I have to say, it wasn't the change that really any of us were calling for. But listen, I think we're critical of Mikey Johnson on this programme, and rightly so. But I don't think we ever go above and beyond that. I think the criticism that we give him's been merited. But I think we're nothing but fair either. And I think when he comes up with the goods, he's got to be praised as well. And although for the first 5-10 minutes I was sort of saying, this is going to be another Easter Road second half performance for Mikey Johnson, there's no denying he played a huge part in both the equaliser and the second goal as well, which turned the game on its head. So we have to say a really good substitution from Brendan. And also, as well, like he says, as Jed says there, bringing on for that physicality up front as well.
Is that for me?
No, it's you, son. Sorry.
Sorry. Well, I have to say, you said there that we're not over the top on the criticism of Mikey Johnson. I think I have to hold my hands up and say I'm a wee bit guilty of that, right to the point where when the half-time change happened, I says, and we turn to this cunch. But I have to say, listen, he's still got a long way to go, but Mikey Johnson came on yesterday and he did change the game, and I admitted it to you guys. He had a really good game. The first goal, he was integral. Like, obviously, Cal McGregor, it's a brilliant finish, but Mikey Johnson gets that ball, and it's easy for him to go outside, but he just drops the shoulder and comes inside and opens up the full pitch, just slides a ball into Matt O'Reilly, and then for there, St Johnstone are struggling. And, he came on, massive difference. He tries a back heel, he just puts it back into the mixer before St Johnstone can get set, and then they're sort of struggling to get it away. And then Cal McGregor, just a textbook finish. Absolute textbook finish. Body over the top of the ball and puts the laces right through it. Hits it sweet as a nut. But Mikey Johnson, I have to say, was really, really good. And I think it spoke volumes in that Mikey Johnson handed Cal McGregor the man of the match trophy. And Cal McGregor, as he was walking away, says, "I'll give you that back later."
Yeah, it was a nice touch, and definitely feeds into the more evidence of Cal McGregor being almost Brendan's on-field general, Stephen. I get the feel like all is, Stephen, I don't think you'll be rushing out to get Mikey Johnson on the back of your new Celtic top on the back of one decent second half performance, but there's no denying he definitely played a big part in the turnaround in the game yesterday. And although I think we've all agreed as well that maybe the captain himself has maybe been off the boil a wee bit in recent weeks, but when that game was running away for us, it was him that came up, and it was a brilliant example. I don't, you've probably seen it yourself. When he scores, there was no sort of celebrate. He ran to the crowd, roaring his face with all that passion, and then turned. The rest of the players were coming to sort of celebrate with him, and he turned around and says, "Get the ball back," and then we were heading straight back. Let's go again, sort of thing. It was just a brilliant way of showing the example and the standards that he sets on the pitch.
I think Cal McGregor needed that goal. And I think what you're seeing with the celebration, I don't know about you, but it was a lot of relief. Or like a weight's been lifted off his shoulders, getting that kind of release and that enjoyment out of that kind of particular segment in the game. And I like the caption of this podcast, Captain Cal pulls rank, and he certainly did in that second half. And he mentioned that Rodgers his words hurt him, saying that we're soft, and as Ross rightly said, we were soft at the goal we conceded. And Cal McGregor kind of wanted to right that wrong, and he certainly did. He played a big part in the second half turnaround. And you speak about Mikey Johnson, and I mean, to be fair, we could sit here and say it's a shambolic position to be calling upon him. But again, injuries play a big part in this. And I thought when Mikey Johnson came on, and Ross said it at the start of the podcast, Yang spent the majority of that half offside. I don't know what happened to the guy, and I said it in the group chat after. He really upset me because I like him. I like him a lot. I think he offers a lot in terms of skill and one-on-one technique that maybe Palma doesn't, but it wasn't his best game by any stretch of the imagination. And Mikey Johnson come on, and the first thing he done was directly attack the fullback, and that's what we needed, that kind of impetus, that pace and that drive to get up the pitch and get into the box and cause problems. And I think when O come on as well, the physicality that brought, Kyogo had a different dimension in his game. He could drop off and get involved in the play deeper and link up. And in terms of Cal McGregor again, kind of rounding off with him, I just thought for him it was vital to get that goal. And he hasn't been great this season. I don't think anyone can say he's been at his best levels. Maybe that's to do with partly the amount of games he plays, and he plays constantly week in, week out, whether it's for Celtic, national team duty with Scotland. He never seems to get a break. And look, I hope that game management style of things comes in more when we have players that Rodgers trusts to come in and fill that void when McGregor's not playing. It just feels like to me at the moment, like you said, he's the captain, he's the general, and we need him on that pitch for that influence. And he certainly provided that against St Johnstone, and Mikey Johnson as well played a pivotal part in that, Anthony. And I can't say anything otherwise. Do I want them in the squad? Do I want them in my team? Absolutely not. But needs must at the minute, and he's the guy who's putting up the rewards, and he might take the chance and take Yang's place.
Yeah, that's fair, mate. And I'm going to come right back to you as well, because no sooner had we got ourselves level, and Ross would have probably had enough time to go make himself another cup of tea and probably 2 rolling bacon as well by the time they were checking the equaliser on VAR for reasons probably best known to themselves. And eventually it was given, for obviously. And then another wonderful move, finished off by, the player of the season for me so far, and Matt O'Reilly. Another terrific finish, and the St Johnstone keeper, who I actually thought had a really good game, left with absolutely no chance. Turned the game on its head, Stephen, and he's blossoming under Brendan, isn't he?
Oh, he's took his game on to another level, and I mean, if Pilates can do that to you and make an impact in the game like that, like he said, I'm going to do Pilates and see if I can become a professional footballer. Because he was mentioning in his post-match interview that he does these kind of workouts and stuff, and it helps him be more stable in his body and looks after himself away from the park, which is fantastic. And I think that's Rodgers again. You have to remember the 24-hour kind of lifestyle as an athlete. Remember he brought that in the first time. I think O'Reilly's really bought into that. And we all know that O'Reilly, I don't know, wasn't maybe the biggest fan of Postecoglou. That's 100%. But this season, he's took his game on to another level. Champions League form dips in and out, but I think he'll get there. He's got his first international cap for Denmark, which is fantastic. And his goal was incredible, by the way. He just fizzed it. Bang, right in the top bins. Mitov, I think their goalkeeper's called. He had a great game, I do agree, but he had no chance for that. And I just think O'Reilly, for us, he's one of these players that we can't drop. We can't afford to be injured. We're missing a Tate. And he's just like a Rolls Royce at the minute in the midfield. But one thing I do want to say here, and I've seen Ross point out, I'm actually quite interested to see if he agrees with this, because he did point out Brown Warrior It's to do with the tactics. Stephen Clark gets way more out of Cal McGregor, I'm assuming. It's utter bollocks. He's off form or tired. Absolute bollocks again. Do you agree with that sentiment, Ross?
I do. I think Steve Clark does get more out of him. I don't know if it's... I don't think he's playing too dissimilar a position for Scotland, but it's the way Scotland are set up round about him. That sort of... Cal McGregor's... And I know he does it for us as well, but he's picking the ball up deeper for us. I think he's the one in the Scotland team where he's playing that sort of, and I'm not comparing him by any stretch, but he's playing that sort of Javi role, where he's popping the ball about in the middle of the park. It's where he's most comfortable, and he's picking it up further up the pitch and affecting the game a wee bit more, which is why I've said it to him blue in the face. I would like to see, while Hatate isn't in the team, I would like to see Iwata play so that Cal McGregor plays that one bit further up the pitch and he can play that sort of role in the team, similar to what he does for Scotland. I don't know if Brown Warrior sort of agrees with that. I'd like to see what he thinks of that.
I just wanted to ask Ross that. Hopefully.
But would you agree with that, Anthony? What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's fair. Obviously it's kind of different formations, etc. But I know what you mean in the sense that McGregor himself tends to play a similar role, and definitely I did think with Hatate being out and Iwata having to, Iwata coming in at Tynecastle, scoring the good goal, and kind of generally looked good when he came on, and it was the same when the same yesterday as we'll get to. I'm that is kind of perplexed as you, Ross, that he's not kind of featured more. As I say, we're not maybe seeing in training what Brendan is, and maybe that's the reason, or maybe just he still likes that that Turnbull, McGregor and O'Reilly combination. But yeah, it's a strange one, but I would agree with your point. And what about yourself in terms of the second goal, the build-up play again? Mikey Johnson heavily involved. Great touch for Kyogo to lay it on for O'Reilly, and big man done the business again.
Aye, it was just a really good team goal. Really well worked move. And again, as you say, Mikey Johnson, he has meant that flick. He knows who's round about him, and it's a lovely wee flick. Again, it opens up the play, and then it's a lovely ball across for Kyogo, and Matt O'Reilly doesn't need to break stride. I think he does. He takes a touch, and then Stephen says he just fizzes it right into the top corner. There's no keeper saving it. He's hit it again, like Cal McGregor. He's hit it absolutely flush, and it was probably the way we were playing. It was probably going to take goals like that to sort of spur us on, because even for, I think McGregor's goal was around about the 60th minute mark. The 15 minutes before that, we had upped obviously the intensity of our play, but we still weren't really penetrating St Johnstone that much. Obviously, Kyogo had that chance, the one where he was offside, but it was still like sort of frustrating. It was going to take something like I don't know about that. For me, it was going to take something like the really top quality strikes. And as Stephen alluded to as well, the keeper was having a really good game.
He was.
That save he made, I think it was was it Kyogo when it got played across the box, and he's just gambled and dived, and again it was offside, but it was a top drawer save. So it was going to take something like that, I think, to really unlock St Johnstone. But when we did, we just obviously grew into the game after that, and then we got the really good goal for O'Reilly. But obviously we got out of jail a wee bit later on, as we'll probably come to.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that kind of all comes under the sort of same umbrella here, and I'll come to yourself first for this one, Ross. So, like we say, it's basically the coverage of the third goal, but it obviously starts off with our favourite subject, or it's definitely Stephen's favourite subject, Joe Hart, And listen, I don't think there could be any debate. There can't be any debate in terms of. I think to say that Joe's not in a good reign of form right now is, it's a bit of an understatement. Very much at fault for the goal yesterday. I would agree, and also the equaliser for Motherwell last week. And he didn't. I don't think he necessarily had any chance with the goals in Lazio, but I don't know what it is at the moment. But he just doesn't seem to be inspiring too much confidence in between the sticks. And for a guy his experience, you expect that he should be. That being said, he then pulled off, and the game was just at that awkward moment, 92 minutes, 93 minutes, where you think, let's just see this out. Let's not get caught with a sucker punch again. And we very nearly did. It has to be said, it was a very, very good save for Joe Hart to keep the ball out. But from that, we then broke, as I say, the guy you want to see more of, Iwata. Great anticipation and a terrific ball, it has to be said, onto James Forrest, who still does have a lot of work to do in front of goal, and he took it absolutely clinically just to round off the game. And from that, we can start to relax and know the points are coming back to Glasgow with us. But just your thoughts on Joe, or your comments, thoughts on the goal to maybe start with, and then obviously Joe's sort of form at the minute, shall we say?
Well, initially, obviously, I'll start obviously on Joe Hart, because obviously it leads to the goal. For me, initially when I seen it, obviously the cross comes over, and again I was screaming at the telly because I felt Hart should have came for it. On a second look at it, he probably done the right thing staying where he was, because it was going away for him, so he'd have been struggling to get out to it, I think. Anthony just muffling a yawn there.
He does it so well, doesn't he? He's just like,
Again.
Well, he's going to get that clap,
oh, aye. So on a second look, I think he done the right thing staying where he was, because he probably maybe wouldn't have got to it, and then if he didn't get to it, you're saying he's came out and flapped at it, and then I was going to say Eddie May. He used to play for Hibs years ago. Stevie May would have headered it in. He would have headered it into an empty net. Turns out that, listen, like you, Anthony, you've said there, Joe Hart doesn't fill you with great confidence at the minute. He isn't in a rich, feiny form, and I've defended him blue in the face along with Greg Taylor, and you have to say that both their forms aren't as good as what they have been in the past couple of seasons, certainly under Ange. But again, you have to say Joe Hart isn't asked to do a great deal in these games. In terms of saves, he had one early in the first half when the St Johnstone boy that scored the goal, I can't mind his name, who actually had quite a good game. He gets a shot off and it sort of deflects, I think, off his scales, and Hart does well to hold it. But then, what's going on?
I'm laughing at the comments just.
Aye,
but up on the screen then.
The ball, he isn't asked to do a lot. And then, obviously, when he is called upon in big moments, he does tend to come up with the goods for us. He's done it for 2 seasons now, and again, he done it there. And then the ball comes back across, and you're thinking, we're still not going to deal with this. We're going to drop 2 points again just with silliness, not being able to see a game out. But CCV gets his head on it, and then for there, I think it's Alistair Johnston hooks it up the park. And for me, in that moment gives you what probably Kyogo doesn't he? He holds the ball up, he falls to the ground, but he still manages to have enough strength. That's another yawn muffled there, man. That's quite unbelievable, Anthony.
Anthony, come on, jeez, man. What's going on there?
In here, son. I'm going to need to open this window. It's absolutely stifling in here.
He's a tired laddie. But aye, as I say, he gives you that strength. He holds it up brilliantly. He falls to the ground. He still manages to get the ball out his feet, and then it goes to that man Iwata, who it's a brilliant run, and it's not the easiest pass. He still has to get the right weight on it for James Forrest to take it in his stride, and he does that. He's not played a lot of football, but he's still got that in his locker to be able to come up with the goods at that late stage of the game. Obviously, he's a bit fresher, and then, I mean, James Forrest has took a lot of stick. I was so pleased for the guy. His first touch was absolutely tremendous, and his second one was emphatic. Outside of the boot, just a brilliant finish. Gives the keeper absolutely no chance, and we're back up the road with the points. We're glad after that first half, but again, we're still unbeaten in the league, and you have to credit the team for doing that, albeit they haven't been at their scintillating best. Well, not more often than not, but I mean, they are dealing with a lot of injuries and stuff. I don't think Rodgers has had a full squad of players to pick for at any point this season, but we're still getting through it, managing to get through this difficult period, which is still not the early part of the season. We're almost halfway there now, and we're still unbeaten. And that, for me, a great deal of credit has to go to the manager and the players, albeit the manager is calling for quality, but these players are still getting the job done for them for the most part in the league, when they done it again yesterday.
Yeah, spot on, mate. I would agree with that. And what about yourself, Stephen? I know Joe's not your favourite subject, to say the least, but and probably not the best time to tell you. I don't know if you seen Brendan's pre-match presser the day, but obviously, naturally, it was one of the questions that he got asked. Is it something, you know, he's obviously made a lot of noise about, you know, wanting quality, and not just in January, but in the summer. But when he was specifically asking the question about Joe Hart, a potential replacement being sought in January, he perhaps not ruled it out 100%, but he's, you know, I think his exact phrase was, "That's not one for now." So, you know, reading between the lines, is that him saying that he perhaps feels that between now and the end of the season, he's happy with Joe Hart and goals? I can, for what it's worth, regardless of the form that he's in, you know, there's very few teams that change their goalkeeper halfway through a season, so that, you know, that might be an awkward one. But I definitely think, regardless, there will be some movement in the summer where that's concerned. But the thoughts on, well, your thoughts on Joe Hart in general, but obviously also as well the save from the cross that then led to the third goal, which was put away by James Forrest to round off the game.
I mean, first of all, I do want to say the comments are an absolute fire tonight. It's actually been quite funny. It's been quite entertaining watching them coming in, and Ross thinks I'm laughing at him. I'm not. It's just the comments are coming in on screen, and everyone's getting involved. I'm getting pelters again about my beard. I can't do nothing, Monty, about my beard. Just leave it be. It's the way it is. That's always what it'll be. But in terms of Joe Hart, I mean, we need a new goalkeeper. There's no other way I can say this. I've been saying this probably since the end of last season. Joe Hart's passing it for me. He's too slow. And like Ross said, he doesn't use his physicality near enough that the way he should be, commanding that box, commanding that 6-yard area. He's instead putting players in front of him as like a barrier, which doesn't work, because then it takes away from your ability to jump and try and catch a ball. And it looks shambolic for the St Johnstone goal, which it was. The whole kind of the mess of that defender was just embarrassing at times. But Joe Hart, he's been a great servant to the club. He's won league titles, treble winner, double winner. Don't mean he'll go down in history for that, but he needs to move on. And it's you say we don't change keepers and stuff in January, but let's put it like this: he will be our number one next season. I can almost guarantee this. So why not get a keeper in January, bet him in, and see what can happen from there? Let Joe Hart go to Shrewsbury, whoever it may be that he wants to end his career at, that he's said openly and publicly on podcasts. So, look, as far as I'm concerned, my opinion's never changed on him. He needs to leave the club. We need to let him go. Now Ross is yawning. I must be boring people. But
no, it's I was smelling my breath.
Don't. I still smell beer in mine from Friday. But He's not good enough, and he's making too many mistakes now, game on game. And yeah, he produced a cracking save at the end, hopefully, but you're getting 2 mistakes or 3 mistakes out of him every game now, and he's not quick. His passing is shoddy. Was seen in that game at McDermott Park there. He played it out to Johnson on the right, totally missed him, went to St Johnstone player. He done that in Europe last season. And it's just these inconsistencies from him. It's starting to creep in more and more. Is it an age thing? I don't know. Is it just a thing where his maybe career's winding down? He's not just as quick as he was. His reflexes aren't as quick as he was. That's fair enough. Careers do that. They go off a cliff. And I think Joe Hart for me is doing that. We don't need to carry him. We owe him nothing. We owe that guy nothing.
What about the save? But
he made a great save. But Ross, what I'm saying is, Ross, if you're against a clinical team, the 2-3 mistakes he's making are going to get punished. We're against St Johnstone, which is why these mistakes aren't punished. That's because of our league kind of standard. That's not our fault. We play in that league, but European level will see it. It doesn't matter. He's not good enough for our club. We always need to be progressing and evolving. I know there's rumours about Kevin Kelleher from Liverpool. I know he played in their game there on the weekend. He looks a good keeper, a good prospect. Can we get him in the club? We don't know. Livakovic, we don't know if we're ever him for him. I just think it's this is a saga that never ends. It never ends. He's not good enough. He made a good save. But as I said, I'll counter that, Ross, by saying the 3 mistakes he made against a higher calibre club, if we were against Sevco, they would have been punished. So we can say he made a great save against the Johnson, but if we're in a high-pressure game, for example, the 30th of December, he does that, it'll be punished. We can't carry passengers no more. And like what Roger said, there's players there that want to be comfortable and do the bare minimum, and I think Joe Hart's one of them. That's my opinion.
I don't think you can be accused of that.
I think if there's... Listen, all of the points you made, the mistake ratio is definitely increasing. I don't think that anyone can see that, but I think one of of all the things that can be flung at Joe Hart, and maybe paraphrasing this wrong given the circumstances, but I think his work ethic and his professionalism has never been called into question, and I think players lose their they lose their strengths over time. That goes without saying, but I would disagree with that. I think there's.
Is he good enough for our club?
Aye, but you said he's doing the bare minimum. He's not doing the bare minimum. That's unfair. That's damning and harsh. You can pick his faults, and as Anthony said, he's maybe losing it a bit, or he is losing it a bit because of his age. But I don't think he can be accused of doing the bare minimum, not being professional, and all the rest of it. I think that's harsh, very harsh indeed. In fact.
Harsh on Hart, you could say, but no. To answer your question, Stephen, I think next season there without doubt has to be a change. I think the way that Celtic operate, and whether folk like this or not, and I'm not even necessarily sure. I would like to see him leave in January, and I know it's not. I know we're not it's not about sentiment and all that, but I think there's right ways and wrong ways to do certain things. And I think a guy like Joe Hart, who, like you say, played in Europe for us, won a league and League Cup double in season 1, treble winner in season 2. I genuinely think he would, that would be to do. It would be at the end of the season when, getting a farewell at Celtic Park. I just don't think it's like. I think just, bumping him out in January. I think that's unrealistic. I think, rightly or wrongly, and that's a whole other podcast which we're not going to go into tonight. But the fact that we don't have European football after Christmas suggests to me that we've got League and Scottish Cup action between now and May. I think Joe Hart's got more than enough quality to get through that. But where I would agree with you is that whereas last season I thought that there's areas of the team that needed strengthening before the goalkeeper, I think next summer, the goalkeeping position moves a lot higher up the pecking order, shall we say. But that's our discussion on Joe finished till Friday night, probably, let's be honest, depending on how Wednesday goes. But Stephen, I'm going to come right back to you because obviously one of the probably the biggest talking point of the last 24 hours has been, and I know we've touched on it in little snippets throughout the show, but Brendan's post-match interview, not just with Sky but with Celtic TV as well. When even I don't know if he's caught the Celtic TV one, when I think the presenter tried to say, "Oh, you were very angry. You came across said you were angry at the angriest you've ever been at half time," and he says, "Well, I'm still angry now." So this was obviously after the Sky interview, and you could tell he was still not happy, and he didn't cut much more of a happier figure at the pre-match conference today against Hibs, and making some big statements about certain players that, like you've touched on it before, some players that he thinks are going through the motions and that standards have dropped, but he's not going to allow on his watch. The two summer signings at centre half, and Rocky and Lagerbielke, it wasn't necessarily criticism, outlandish criticism, but he definitely did say they've got to prove that just because they're fit again, that doesn't mean they go right out of the team at Liam Scales' expense, because you would surmising for that, Brendan thinks that Scales is meriting the jersey at the moment. Also as well with Tillio, he basically admitted that the only reason he was in the team was due to injuries and suspensions, and that doesn't sound like that's going to be changing anytime soon. And of course there was some good news on the notice about Abada and Maeda perhaps being back slightly ahead of schedule, which is a bit of good news. But he basically said in no uncertain terms that it's, for me anyway, it's his way or the highway.
I mean, to be fair, look, at the end of the day, like, Rodgers had a right to be angry, and we talked about this at the start of the podcast. Reaction to that first half performance is what you need to see from our manager. But before I do come on, that Monty has asked, why is the Endless Celts only on twice a week, mate? Surely you do it week Wednesday. So with a couple of things in the pipeline coming into the new year, hopefully we can discuss further. We'll do a podcast on that, but yeah, something we're looking to do, something we're looking involved with, and get on in terms of emotion. Again, not in the availability, but we would love to do that. You can hear me okay, can't you? Yeah?
No, it's totally like, it's
You've
absolutely
went full
terrible.
Dalek mode, mate.
Has it gone?
It's really bad. I can't really make any of it.
I'll be honest, Ross, I thought it was me, because it's usually my link. But
I wasn't sure if it was just me. Actually, I was kind of
I think it's going
like sniggering, because I was like,
absolutely. But I'll try and Monty, to answer your question, mate. It's purely at the moment through availability. There's obviously only the six of us, and it's a big commitment. We love doing it. Don't get me wrong. It's one of the highlights of our week, but trying to do more than what we can at this moment, it's probably a bit unrealistic, and just try to. But what we're hopefully trying to do is try to get some of our guests back on. Anyone that listens in, if they fancied coming on, it's the viewer takeover series that we've done. Feel free to get in touch on Twitter or anything else. I know we've obviously one of our favourites, Mr. Thomas. But by the way, Jed, congratulations on the new arrival.
Congratulations.
We've had Jed on a few times, and I'm sure everyone would agree that he's been an absolutely tremendous, asset when he's been on. He's covers himself really well, and he's brilliant to listen to. So it's purely on availability, and we try and do it as often as we can. But yeah, I think in the meantime, Ross, whilst Stephen's sorting out his connection, I don't know if Joe Hart's sticking a voodoo doll in his Wi-Fi signal. But I'll cover yourself. Just what you thought with Brendan's, your thoughts on Brendan's comments, and sort of his outlook at the moment, and how he's coming across in the media.
Well, to be honest with you, mate, I've not actually seen the press conference. I've not had a chance today. I was planning on watching it post coming on, but I just ran out of time. I got in for work too late. But I think it was yourself that posted something about, obviously talked about Navroki and Lagerbielke, and I don't know if they're not showing that they're good enough, or if he doesn't want them. He's sort of saying you don't just walk back into the team. I don't know if they're in the same sort of boat as Telio. But some of the things he's saying, he's coming out and saying he's wanting to add quality. Listen, it's great I'm saying that. We all want to add quality. I don't know how I feel about it. Like, it's all well and good saying that, and he's no, what's the saying? He's not suffering fools gladly. But at the same time, I think, is it taking a bit of a chance, because he's got these guys now, and he needs to get to January. He might not even get the guys in January that he wants, but he's got these guys. He needs to keep them on side for me, and coming out and saying like we need to add quality. Is there boys maybe in that first half, like that was how the performance was turned in? They're thinking, does he think I'm no quality? Like they're left wondering. I don't know. Listen, I like the transparency. I asked for it last week for the board, getting it for the manager tenfold. But sometimes I just think you've just got to be a bit more careful. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell Brendan Rodgers how to manage a football team. He knows far better than me, but I don't know. I'm unsure. He seems to be calling a lot of guys out, and he needs these guys to go to the well for him now, because it's what he's got. So you've just got to be, for me, you've got to be a bit more careful. But it might work the other way, and they might go out and say, right, well, we want to prove we're quality and we're good enough for this team.
Yeah.
Lagerbielke
and you go.
I was just going to say Lagerbielke and Navrocki aren't getting the opportunity to do that on the field now because Liam Scales is playing so well. But they have to obviously, he's looking for them to show more in training. That's sort of reading between the lines and not having seen the entire press conference. I've just seen sort of that wee extract that somebody sent into the group chat today. So again, you've got to be a bit more careful, because he's wanting these guys to go to the well for him certainly for this month anyway, and then we get to January and we see sort of where we go for there. I think Rodgers, he definitely will get the quality in that he wants. Whether it be January or the summer remains to be seen, but I do think that he will be given the tools that he asked for, certainly to the best of the board's ability. And I don't think Rodgers is looking for your 10, 12 million pound players. He's not talking about that. He's alluded to it enough times. It doesn't need to be that, as long as it's quality, and I think that's what we all want.
Yeah, I would agree.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, mate.
What were you going to say in reply? Oh, listen, I'm not hanging what you said, Anthony. It was, you spoke very well there, but what were you going to say yourself, Stephen, in reply to Monty's question?
What was Monty's question? I didn't see it.
Remember he asked why we're only on 2 days a week.
Oh, so basically what I was going to say is there's something we're looking into for the future. We know we want to do more. We always want to do more, want to evolve, make the podcast better, but it comes down to availability. We all do full-time jobs and things, but we enjoy getting on with our community and having a laugh. And
you do at the minute. You're on a sugary peg with that boss of yours.
Listen, that's resolved, mate. It's conflict resolution. It's sorted, right? But if I go back to what you were saying about what Roger post-match or pre-match comments about the squad, about Tilio, about Lagerbielke, about Naraki, I think the two centre-backs are taking a bit of damage here because Scales has come in and done so well. And he's took that opportunity and ran with it. I heard a bit what Ross said there. But for Scales, for me, the last couple of games, he hasn't been great. A couple of mistakes are creeping into his game. He hasn't been strong enough in set pieces. He's missed markers and he's missed runners as well. So, look, things can develop and the Rocky could get a chance again in the future. I don't think Rodgers was discounting their chances of future runs in the team. He actually referenced the fact that fringe players like Awada, Forrest, Mikey Johnson might get an opportunity against Hibs in the next game, which is welcome. I mean, especially if Yang plays the way he does, Johnson made a better impact. So you have to reward form over someone playing shite, to be fair. But looking at it, I think Rodgers is making the noise that he's not happy with the summer. He's not happy with the transfer activity. And yeah, he said it at the time. He was happy with the recruitment and stuff. But I think he's took back. He's reflected on what's actually happened. He's went, nah, some of these players aren't good enough. And he's come out really early on and said, again, some players are comfortable. Who's he talking about? It can only be players who've only recently come into the squad. Do you know what I mean? And that's a bit telling that the manager's coming out saying things like that. I kind of get the impression he's not too keen on Tilio. He's never really got the opportunity. He's been fit for weeks now. And I mean, the winger situation at Celtic is diabolical. There's injuries everywhere. So why is he not getting the opportunity? Again, maybe he's one for a loan move. Kobayashi's going to be leaving the club. I firmly believe that Larga Bielka might be leaving the club. I don't think he's too keen on him, even though he's done quite well when he started games. And I want Rodgers to be ruthless. I want him to be in January, be like, this is who we need, this is who we don't need. There's no middleman here. Get them out, get the players in that we need. And I think he's starting to make that noise. Like Postecoglou done when he was in charge first, his first transfer window. I'm not being forceful enough with the board. Rodgers needs to make a statement like that. And we can all sit here and say, we don't know if Celtic went for this player or that player. Quite frankly, we don't know. But Rodgers wants quality. He doesn't want any more project players. He wants someone to come in, and this is Ross's his favourite phrase, first team ready. Someone to come in with experience, someone to come in and take a jersey off whoever it may be and improve the team from the get-go. Rodgers has said that, not just me, not just the average day fan who sees everything that goes on in the club. We could see this at the end of the transfer window. Rodgers has finally said it now. And I find it quite funny how people are jumping on it and I go, oh, we need better quality. But then same people were saying, oh, we could do this, we could do that. The squad's good enough how it is. The squad depth's fantastic. It's not. At the end of the day, it's not good enough. And Rodgers knows that himself. And I'm happy he's come out and said it. Anthony, you put a brilliant point in the group chat today, the reference to what he said and that type of thing. If he continues with that trend, I'm buzzing because business is going to be done. Rodgers is going to get what he wants into Celtic, and we'll see players come in the door who's ready to take a first team jersey off of Taylor, off of Hart, off of Kyogo, off of Cal McGregor. I'm all for it.
Yeah, well, January awaits, shall we say? But definitely, whether we get that level of quality in January, I think would be tricky. I think goes without saying, but that's not to say we have had good January windows in the past, the quite recent past, obviously. You look at Angie's first season, that business was wrapped up pretty much before the January window even opened, and we've seen the impact that your Maidas and your Hatate made. So, yeah, something along those lines would be just what the doctor ordered. And, Stephen, I'm just going to come back to you. We'll just kind of briefly chat about, just before we wrap up tonight, obviously another big game coming thick and fast. At this moment, we're at Hibs at home Wednesday night. It's Glasgow v Edinburgh in midweek. Obviously, Hibs at Celtic Park, and the bootleg Rangers travelling to play their wee cousins at Tynecastle as well. So it'll be a packed calendar. And Rodgers has said in his pre-match press of the day that they made the joke about, so we're looking for a quick start, Brendan, and he says double quick. So I think basically, whoever is picked tomorrow night Wednesday night, is under no illusions that he wants to see more of the second half from yesterday and not a repeat of what happened in the first 45.
Yeah, I think Hibs as well. They're on the back of a good win against Aberdeen. They won 2-0, didn't they? I mean, that's a good win for Nick Montgomery and his team. And look, I think Nick Montgomery and Hibs are actually, they're starting to pick up a bit of form. They've got a few decent players. Is it Yard Tavares, the winger? He's a brilliant winger, dynamic, fast. Eli Yuhan, he's a good winger as well, albeit he's obviously a striker. And then you got Martin Boyle and people like that playing through the middle. They got plenty of pace. They got good players in the team. And it's one of these games I'm looking forward to. Against Hibs, it's always open. There's good football being played. Both teams are going at it. And even Rodgers said that himself. He likes what Nick Montgomery's doing with him. And I'm looking forward to the game. And like you said, if the likes of Awada come in, if the likes of Jellison come in, they will be under no illusion what they need to do from the start. They need to replicate what they've done in that second half. It can't be going back to the piss that was seen in the first half against St Johnstone. We all won't be happy with that. We need to see a reaction from the team, take it to them from the start. And I'm confident it'll be a comfortable win, to be honest. I'm actually not being disrespectful towards Hibs, but as I said, it's always open. They don't sit and sit back and kind of soak up pressure. They're always looking to attack and play football. And I think we've got the quality, we've got the edge over them. And if the likes of Kyogo, the likes of Palma can find the spaces and O'Reilly make the late runs into the box, I can only see a good win for Celtic.
Okay, what would you saying? A comfortable win, and what your first 11 would be?
My first 11 would be getting into this game. It would be Joe Hart, Alistair Johnson, Carter Vickers, Scales, Taylor, Iwata, O'Reilly, McGregor. On the right, I would go Johnson, through the middle, Kyogo, and on the left, Palma. And I'll go 4-1 Celtic.
It's, good shout, mate. I'll certainly settle for that result on Wednesday, because it means I'll be moving about a lot and getting some, jumping up and down, a bit of exercise and keeping myself warm in the cold. Over yourself, Roscoe, what's your predicted lineup and score prediction, and just your thoughts on the upcoming match?
Well, my lineup would be exactly the same as what Stephen picked there. I don't think that'll be Rodgers' lineup. I think he'll probably play Home or Turnbull rather than Iwata, which for me I don't get, but I think that's probably what will happen. But my team would be the same as Stephen's, and it'll not be an easy game, but Pam's just said it there. That's my scoreline, another 3-1 win. For the reasons, obviously, Stephen has said that Hibs probably won't sit in just as much as other teams. That they play a bit more, or they try and play a bit more expansive, which will probably play into Celtic's hands. It'll open up the spaces, which is why I think we'll probably get 3 or 4 goals in the game, but also think that Hibs will maybe get a wee bit of joy and they'll maybe get a goal, especially with the pacey Martin Boyle and stuff like that. So 3-1 and same team as Stephen.
We're all relatively thinking the same way. I was going to take 3-1 as well, boys, but like you say, I think it'll be the team that you guys have picked, but I think possibly, like you say, Turnbull will probably start. But I dare say, if it was up to me, I would probably like to see a bit more of Iwata as well, and for O to feature a bit earlier than what he what he did yesterday, because having the 2 strikers on, teams are still working out how to play against that, and O's just starting to make his presence known a little bit more in that box. Not necessarily getting on the score sheet, but just creating that kind of uncertainty amongst the defenders in the box. And Monty, I don't know if my heart will be able to take that kind of scoreline, but it's all about the 3 points at this. Exactly. It's but I suppose it's all about points at this time in the season. In terms of the show tonight, boys, I'm pretty much I'm all done. But Stephen, I know you'll want to do the announcement for the Celtic Advent Calendar, or the Endless Celts Advent Calendar.
So basically, as I said at the start of the podcast, there's a wee bit of fun, the Endless Celts Advent Calendar, and we're on the 4th of December, the Celtic number 4, it's a blurred out face, and it was, in fact, Adam Virgo. I mean, a much maligned Celtic player. I think he had like 6 appearances. He came from Brighton, Gordon Strachan's side, and I think it was more of a favourite than anything. And the only person in the entire podcast to get it, if I can get the comment up here, was
Alistair.
No, Michael Mitchell. And he got it very early as well. He got it very early on. Fair play to you, Michael Mitchell. Your praise of a Lindt chocolate, which I will enjoy after, is on its way into my mouth. Not really joking. But, no, fair play. Just a bit of fun that we're going to do week on week now until obviously Christmas, the big day. But Anthony, back to yourself. Great podcast as always.
No, that's great, mate. Thank you, and hope you boys have enjoyed being on. It's been great having you. I think it's been a wee while since it's been the 3 years, so it's always good to shoot the breeze and discussing this roller coaster season following the boys. But and thanks again to everybody for getting involved in the comments tonight. Well, Pam, you're always too kind to us, Sonia. But no, we've really enjoyed it, guys, and thanks again to everybody for getting involved. And if you've liked it, maybe joining for the first time, feel free to hit that subscribe button and you'll get a wee notification.
I've seen a couple of new names, Dion and Michael Mitchell and people like that joining in, so it's good to have you aboard, get involved. If you want to get on the podcast, throw us a message and you're more than welcome.
Absolutely. And what about yourself, Ross, just before we finish up? Enjoyed it tonight?
I really enjoyed it. The last time I was on, we were talking about. Listen, it was no hang me on Stephen. We had to talk about it, but we were talking about the AGM and all that, and that's not in my comfort zone. I like talking about the football. So getting back to talking about the actual game of football and not the to and fro between the Green Brigade, etc. It's been refreshing and nice, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Superb, mate. I've actually just realised that an hour and 5 minutes and no GB chat. Just, praise the Lord.
I just sounded the klaxon.
That's it. We're just going to leave it there. Thanks again, guys, and we shall see you at 8 o'clock Friday night for all the reaction from the match against Hibs, and obviously previewing our trip, the dreaded trip back to the artificial pitch at Rugby Park on Sunday. So thanks again, and I'll leave you, Stephen, to do the outro.
Stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.